Welcome, everyone, to the Monday Top 10 Lists with me, Iadarola and Francesca Fiorentini, streaming exclusively, although not live yet, maybe at some point, to our YouTube members of Tier 2 and Tier 3. Thank you so much for supporting the channel and network just a little bit more. We love to give you just a little bit extra for your support, and so we're putting together these fun little conversational top 10s. And last week we did the top 10 garbage people of 2020. This time we've got the top 10 Trump goofs. So a lot of people, as Trump transitions out of the president, are looking back on the most ridiculous things that he's said and done. Now, obviously, we do a lot of time spent on the most damaging and harmful and horrendous and xenophobic and racist things that he does. This is going to be, in some cases, a little bit lighter. Not always, but it should be fun. So, Francesca, you've got your 5?
Oh, God. I'm like, do we remember he was impeached? He was impeached. He was impeached. Like, right? Remember that?
He was. Oh, really
God. Fast. Remember? Oh my God! This year has been the longest year on Earth.
It has. Arlene and I we're rewatching old SNLs, and we just passed he won election for the first time.
Oh God!
And all these like predictions about how things will go and whether he'll be impeached. It's like amazing. It's like how much has happened since then. But anyway. We got 10 goofs, 5 of us for each, so why don't we launch into it? My number 5 Trump goof is going to have to be with his years-long obsession on dishwashers and plumbing and all of that. Here's a little representative sample in video form.
But I'm also approving new dishwashers that give you more water so you can actually wash and rinse your dishes without having to do it 10 times. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
It was just months of he's the president.
I
had to flush the toilet over and over.
Who's run a dishwasher 10 times? I think
don't know.
You're doing it wrong at that point.
Just he said he had so many speeches as president that were about his hair not getting wet enough, or the dishes, or the toilet, and pressing buttons and all that. It's just madness. And at least this is one of the things he spent his time on that didn't end up killing a bunch of people. So, hey, it's a goof. It's just a goof.
You know, so yeah, this one is really a hard top 10 list for me because Trump, and like you were saying with SNL, he is a walking satire, and you could invent anything about him and he will one-up you the next day, and the news cycle will move on. And as joke writers, you know, as my friend Nato Green says, it's a work speed up, and like it's not fair working conditions. Like we can't operate like this. Usually it's like a political scandal or some goof you could go on for like, you know, 6 months to a year talking about whatever, the dishwashers, and everyone will remember it. But nope, not now. So mine is very small, my number 5, and it is just a perfect distillation of how unpresidential Trump is. And there's been a couple of these, but the walking up to Air Force One has given us a few really choice gems. And yes, there was the gust of wind that like revealed this like the weirdness of how his hair grows.
Yeah.
Which
grows.
It only grows from one spot, and then there's nothing. So it really is just this like weird comb over. That one was definitely number 5. But for me, even better than that and just more classic was the toilet paper stuck to his shoe.
I forgot the toilet paper.
You know,
was a goof.
It was so. It was just like, okay, so did someone Photoshop that? Nope, you don't need to with this president. Toilet paper on his shoe as he's walking up to Air Force One. Nobody told him.
Because they don't like him, and they don't like care.
Him, and they don't care.
Yeah. By the way, and you're totally right. Like think about like Bridgegate. Who do you think of Chris Christie, right? Like you can make jokes for a couple of years about Bridgegate, or Richard Gere. You talk about a hamster. It's like years. Like for Trump, it's like the P tape was a joke for like a week. But that should have been years. But we moved on. Koveffe, we move on. The mental, like his brain, we move on. We just move on and move on. But anyway,
by the way, I will never move on from the P tape. It's been my comedy closer for a very long time now, and I want to still see it. So anyway, moving on.
Funny. My number 4 Trump goof is going to be a very quick one. This was very quick. He was told during the eclipse to not do one thing. Don't look directly at the eclipse. And so he's Trump. He looked directly at the eclipse. And you know what? We had two opportunities, and I can say this because this is only getting watched by a few people. We had two opportunities for real learning as a people. If he had gone blind after being told by scientists not to look at it, that would have been a strong demonstration that you should listen to what you're told. But he didn't, unfortunately. If he had died from COVID, that would have been a strong lesson that maybe you should take it seriously. And we were denied those things as a people. But anyway, looking directly at it, you big idiot. It's a bright light. You don't need to look directly at it. You can do what everyone else is doing.
Oh no, that wasn't this year. That was a while ago.
It was a couple years ago.
Yeah. That was so classic. So once again, perfect distillation of how unpresidential and ridiculous this person is.
Yeah.
But again, he's our id. Look, truth be told, I looked at it. I looked at the eclipse.
Didn't look at it. Come on.
But I'm not the president. I'm not the president being filmed by a million people, like going like, no, man, don't look at it. Come out, put the things on, and then you could maybe look at it. But I definitely did, and I was like, ah. But again, I'm not. That's why I will never run for president, because I'm afraid that old tapes of me looking at the sun will be dug up.
Or admitting to it on this show.
Yes. All right, number 4 for me, not as much of a goof, but a little bit more of a serious goof. But I think when he threw paper towels at the Puerto Rican people, at the press that was covering his visit to the island when it suffered a hurricane that killed, I think, about 3,000 people is the estimate now. And of course, injured and wiped out the homes and livelihoods of so many thousands more. The man threw bounty at them. Like
he did.
And not just that, not even in this weird, it wasn't even like a press stunt. It was like to the press, which is like probably the worst group of people. He wasn't, they didn't orchestrate for him to go and like, I mean, I'm just saying, like, did he visit a home and like bring a paper towel in like this orchestrated thing? No. He just like lobbed it. In the way that only, the brute idiot that he is could do, only the way that this president could ever do in a time of their utmost need, that he just lobbed paper towels at them. So that whether it was a goof or not, it was definitely a moment of like, nope. This is certainly disqualifying.
It didn't make him look good. Like he must have thought, this is what presidents do. I'm helping. Like it's so. Yeah, and remember when he went to survey like hurricane damage, and he was like, "Whose boat is that boat? Is that your boat, or is it just now your boat?" Like, have you never seen a human on TV? Just act like the human you saw on TV, because you're a bad one.
But it's also just so racist. I'm sorry, like the racism involved of him being like, knock yourselves out with this paper towel. Oh yeah, the boat. Totally. You got boats on this island, like. Ugh. And also just pronouncing Puerto Rico, like going like Puerto Rico, like as if.
And I think that was also the big water, ocean water, huge. Just the inability to show any empathy. Arlene and I were watching that movie Roxanne I was telling you about, which is about like one guy wants to seduce a woman, but he can't express himself. He gets really nervous. Another guy's really good with words. But like the guy who can't express himself, like comically cannot think of anything to say in any circumstance. Trump is that guy, basically. But we're the country he wants to seduce.
Yeah, he thinks of all the wrong things in his every wrong thing that comes in your head. He'll say that out loud.
Totally. I have an example of one, and it's my number 3 goof, actually. Hurricanes are bad, as we've just demonstrated. What's worse than a hurricane? A radioactive hurricane, and he wanted those. During one hurricane briefing at the White House, Trump said, I got it. Why don't we nuke them? According to one source who was there.
Oh
they start forming off the coast of Africa. As they're moving across the Atlantic, we drop a bomb inside the eye of the hurricane, and it disrupts it. Why can't we do that? Asked how the briefer reacted, the source recalled he said something to the effect of, "Sir, we'll look into that." He wanted to nuke a hurricane. Now, this is a goof because he didn't actually nuke as far as we know. He didn't nuke the hurricane. If he had, that would have been a disaster. But this is just a goof because he didn't.
My God. I mean, yes, it is. He's just like, I've seen Armageddon. Just send Bruce Willis up there. Make sure Steve Buscemi is tied up. Like,
I don't want to miss a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the way his dumb brain, like Dr. Evil was a better villain than Trump is years ago.
Totally. What's your number 3?
Number 3. Let's see. There's a lot of runner-ups, and so I'm like, and I know I'm missing some because you sprung this on me last minute, John.
Last night.
Okay, so last night. You're right. But I do have another show that I do.
I know.
And I edit it until late into the night. Okay, so I think this was at the prayer breakfast. I think all of his prayer breakfast moments have been utter disasters to a community that technically he's supposed to be impressing. And so I believe this year in February, before or when he knew about COVID, he held up like acquitted, like a newspaper that called him acquitted at the prayer breakfast. This was after he was not actually formally removed from office, but he was impeached. And he uses prayer breakfast to basically, I think this is not the first time he's done this. He just like uses them as if they were another rally when they're not. They're supposed to be this moment of like being humble and being, I don't know, praying, doing whatever it is religious people do. But I will say, related to that, okay, this is still my number 3. Anytime Trump prays is such a goof. Like, do you see the way, anytime he prays and he's got these religious leaders touching him and he makes the duck face, he's just so, how little kids, when they're told that what smiling looks like and they only do their eyes and they go,
they don't really get it.
They don't get, but that's like Trump with praying. He's it's just when you purse your lips, dear God, God, I want a pony. That's him.
Yeah. He can't do it. Like the holding up the Bible upside down, the 2 Corinthians, which do you like, Old or New Testament? Both. I'm really a both. Like he can't even fake being an actual Christian.
No. And the Bible moment is definitely part of that the fake Christianity.
And the turning everything into whatever he'll go to what was it, a Christmas party or something like that, and he starts talking about how many electoral college votes he got. Dude, context. What event are you at? Make it about that. But he can't do it. My number 2 goof. Oh, I did read it. Okay. So I didn't want to make this number 1 because my number 1 is it is going so far rather than admitting that you were wrong. So my number 2 is just going to be, this is the least goofy in that it was damaging, but it was so, just in this one instance, it's so gooftastic. So here he is getting really curious about science.
Because you see it gets on the lungs and it does a tremendous number in the lungs, so it'd be interesting to check that. So that you're going to have to use medical doctors with. But it sounds interesting to me. I would like you to speak to the medical doctors to see if there's any way that you can apply light and heat to cure. That if you could, and maybe you can, maybe you can't. Again, I say maybe you can, maybe you can't. I'm not a doctor, but I'm like a person that has a good, what.
But sir, you're the president.
Deborah, have you ever heard of that? The heat and the light relative to certain viruses, yes, but relative to this virus?
That is a treatment. I mean, certainly fever is.
Oh God.
Every part of it. So obviously that was the bleach and the UV light thing, which is absolutely harmless. But his he thinks, wait, light. What if you take the light and the heat and you apply it as to cure? And I'm not a doctor. I've just got a you-know-what.
A good you-know-what.
But if you have a good you-know-what, you think that you, off the top of your head, are going to come up with something that they haven't thought of or tried? That whatever crazy idea, if it had any chance of working, that they wouldn't already be working on it? How stupid do you have to be to not know that you're stupider than these people? You have to be really ignorant of your own ignorance.
John, he just almost said, I have a good brain.
Said he had a good, which he has said.
Which he said before. If any other president had ever said the words, I have a good brain, or even worse, I got a good brain, which I think he might have just said, like,
got like a good you know what.
That would have been that's it. That is the headline for a year. I have a good brain. Saying that to a doctor. Like,
I'm like a very stable genius, which he said. I'm a very stable genius. And that is not on my list. That's not even one of the craziest things he said, but that is crazier than anything anyone I know has said. Well, not everyone I know, but most of the people I know, that's crazier than anything they've said.
My God. This is hard. It's just like there's too many.
There's a lot of goofs, but that's why we need to make sure that these gems, or the opposite of these turds, don't get forgotten. So you have two more. What's your number 2 goof?
Okay, fine. My number 2 happened recently because it's the one that I think it just was so perfect, which is his little tiny desk and his little baby desk, which I was looking at the other day and I was like, is it that the chair is short? Is it that the desk is short? No, the whole thing is off. The whole thing is wrong. Like, I don't know where they found this little desk or who set it up for him, but his like legs are splayed open and he's sitting there just like, I won the election. Like, it's so funny. And his little butt is sticking out, or his big ol', diaper butt. And like, I was hosting the show that Monday that it happened. Brett and I were on, and you were off. And so I had to do it alone. I mean, Brett was there, but you know what I mean?
But you're still pretty much alone.
I was pretty much alone, but I was sad because I didn't get to talk to you about that moment where it was just. So, and then, he had like, I don't know, blank papers, important papers. His relationship with paper has always been, I can't remember the journalist, but early on in in one of his many Oval Office interviews, he did that thing where he's like, this interview is done. Goodbye. And then he goes over to his desk and starts to like move around papers.
As if he's working.
As if he's work. This is what work looks like. Like, just
can't even fake work.
No. Like, he's definitely the like, hello? Yes. Germany. Mm-hmm.
Beep, beep,
like,
beep,
boo.
Beep, beep. Yeah, he is from a movie.
But the tiny desk was just so perfect.
And the thing is, if I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, it's like within 10 feet of appropriate sized desk. Like, it's like he didn't want to sit at his big desk, so they got him the little desk. Was that like his desk growing up and like he's got an attachment to it? I don't understand why you'd be at that little desk. But anyway.
It's like the one that comes in when like, a bunch of grade schoolers are visiting the White House and they're like, I want to sit at the Oval Office desk. Like, that's what
give him that one.
Yeah,
that one's it's waterproofed for wetting, and so it worked out well for him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, look, my number 1 goof is going to be this, and there were a lot, but this, I know that we spent like 2 weeks on it, and then we moved on, and that was not enough time, because my number 1 is when he just said, by accident or whatever, that Alabama was going to be threatened by a hurricane, and that set in motion a chain of events that is the craziest I've ever seen, because the president of the United States in the Oval Office held up this sign where he had drawn a black addition to the path of a hurricane that was drawn in white, by the way, not in black, but he drew his in black with a Sharpie to make it seem as if his mistake earlier had been right. He drew on it with a Sharpie and held it up to America rather than just admit that he misspoke. And that is Trump. Like, he would, thankfully we backed off and that was the end of it. But he would have gone to war to defend that mistake he had made. He would have nuked a hurricane to defend that mistake because he cannot admit that he was wrong.
He would have nuked Alabama just to prove
Alabama. I told you it was in danger.
I could stay awake just to hear you breathe. Okay. Oh God. Yeah, that was.
How?
It makes you look worse, homie.
So much worse.
Don't you get that?
Bernie Sanders had done that, it would have been like 1,000 daggers in my heart. That's arguably the goofiest thing he's ever done. And they still support him after that. How could you, like, if my wife, to defend the lie she had told, Sharpied a map and embarrassed us. I'm saying like, that she's right over there.
That's like, you know, like, oh, I'm going to Google it. And then creating, like, hand drawing a Google, like, making a search Wikipedia results. Entry. Yeah, making a Wikipedia entry, but poorly, just to prove that you were right.
Yeah. Oh my God. Anyway, that's my good. What's your number one?
So, okay, my number one was going to be, I have so many, but like number one, I think there are two moments that are not goofs, but that everyone should remember in this presidency that really distill how awful it was. And one of them was the bad people on both sides presser after the 2017 Unite the Right rally. And then the other one was the Helsinki conference, the press conference with Putin. And it was that moment to me, it wasn't a goof, but it was revealing where he said, where, you know, he's asked by the press, like, did you, you know, have you talked to Russia about maybe their involvement in hacking like voter rolls and their, you know, blah, 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 blah. And he was like, I did, and I believe Putin. And then he goes something like, don't do it again. And he like swats at Putin, like swats at Vlad, like, now don't do it again. You know, because they were like, have you taken precautions for the future? Don't do it again. Oh, I'm sorry. A couple of years later, biggest hack in all of U.S. history, like probably by the Russians. It seems like Pompeo admitted by the Russians. So
and they were warned.
Of course they were warned.
Don't do it again, he said.
Don't do it. Yeah, stop it.
Stop it, guys.
Don't release that feed tape. Please don't release it. But that's not really a goof. Okay, so my number one goof, I'm sorry, I'm doing a bazillion. Number one goof, it's this year. It is doubling down on maybe a mistake, but the Four Seasons total landscaping company was the most brilliant, and they're still going with it. Like, granted, it wasn't necessarily his goof; it was like his team's goof, but it's the same thing. But like,
he chose them. He chose them.
The Four Seasons Total Landscaping Company is milking this. And remember how we were like, I don't know, are they in on it? Are they not? Like, no, their Twitter handle is "We're a landscaping business. Take care not to confuse us with a hotel." Actually. Wait. Maybe I've been. No, it's a parody account. Fuck.
Oh. Still
bleep me out. My bad. It's a good thing this isn't live, but that to me was so gorgeous and so brilliant. They are selling T-shirts on their website that say "Lawn and Order." So whether or not that is a parody Twitter account, Lawn and Order is definitely not. So
yeah, that was just don't show up, man. But they did. They showed up and they did it there. I mean, and he has kept Rudy Giuliani through all of this after all of these goofs. It's a goof a minute, basically, and he's still kept him. Giuliani, so no, that's totally fair.
Come on, Giuliani.
Were there any other honorable mentions?
You know, I mentioned a bunch of them, but I did like Yosemites.
That's true.
Yosemites is just brilliant. I really like the moment. It's not really a goof, but when there was maybe a gun in the crowd and he like jumped and had to like all of his security jumped on him. I just thought that was funny to me. And I know it's not funny if there's an attempt on someone's life, but it was funny to watch him run scared for like 5 seconds. I enjoyed that.
Yeah. I think when the UN laughed at him, he just had to stand in that group of world leaders all laughing hilariously at him. That was a great moment.
God. Yes, I forgot about that.
The petty feud with Greta, where like he insulted her and then she made it her Twitter bio. It's just so funny that he lost multiple rounds of a feud with a little girl. I just love it. She was so great. Yeah, because he was so mad that she got chosen as Person of the Year instead of him. He's the president, and he's still desperate for recognition. But anyway, yeah, there's a lot of goofs. Okay, well, great list. Thank you, Francesca. Thank you, everybody, for watching the video. Everybody who's a level 2 or level 3 member, and feel free to let us know if there's top 10 lists you'd like to see in the future. I'm going to try to pick them a little bit more in advance so that I don't stick Francesca at last minute with it. So we'll come up with something, and we'll have one for you.
No, I'll just read the whole email next time.
That'd be a start.
Look, how
Okay,
dare you?
Thank you.
Thank you, John.